Let's listen to the president.
A man I also have great respect for, Justice Anthony. You know who I'm talking about. Justice Kennedy will be retiring, and he's a man that I've known for a long time and a man that I've respected for a long time. He's been a great justice of the Supreme Court. He is a man who is displaying great vision. He's displayed tremendous vision and tremendous heart, and he will be missed, but he will be retiring, and we will begin our search for a new justice of the United States Supreme Court that will begin immediately, and hopefully we're going to pick somebody who will be as outstanding. So I just want to thank Justice Kennedy for the years of tremendous service. He's a very spectacular man, really a spectacular man. And I know that he will be around hopefully for a long time to advise, and I believe he's going to be teaching and doing other things. So thank you to Justice Kennedy. Thank you.
Who will you pick to replace him, sir?
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Well, we have obviously numerous people. We have a list of 25 people that I actually had during my election. I had to 20, and as you know, I added 5 a little while ago. We have a very excellent list of great talented, highly educated, highly intelligent, hopefully tremendous people. I think the list is very outstanding. When I was running, I put down a list of 20 people because, not being a politician, I think people wanted to hear what some of my choices may be, and it was pretty effective. And I think you see the kind of quality that we're looking at when you look at that list. But I added 5 additional people to the list. So it will be somebody from that list. So we have now boiled it down to about 25 people.
And sir, when did you find out?
To the World Cup with President Putin to the final.
Yes, no, I will tell you, we fought very hard to get it here. I think they're doing a fantastic job with the World Cup right now. It's in Russia, and I will tell you that it's exciting. My son loves soccer, and he loves watching the World Cup, and they have really done a fantastic job with the World Cup. It's exciting, even if you're a non-soccer fan. I'm a soccer fan a little bit, but I don't have much time.
What are you rooting for?
But, well, I'm rooting for everybody to do well. But I think the venue has been fantastic. They really have shown something very special. I fought very hard to get it for the United States, Mexico, and Canada, as you probably have heard, and we were honored to be chosen. And this is a great gentleman and a great soccer fan, too. But we were very honored to be chosen for the World Cup, so we look forward to that.
Mr. President, will you meet with President Putin, sir, and where?
Most likely. John Bolton is over there now. He's over in Russia right now. I just saw, watching media, that he's met with President Putin. I haven't gotten the full report yet, but it would look like we will probably be meeting sometime in the not-too-distant future. And I've said it from day one, getting along with Russia and with China and with everybody is a very good thing. It's good for the world, it's good for us, it's good for everybody. So we'll probably be meeting sometime around my trip to Europe.
Do you know where?
That hasn't been determined yet. Probably I will know within an hour.
And what about the injunction on immigration? Will you fight that? The California judge who says reunited families must be put together.
Well, we're going to see, but we believe that families should be together also. So there's not a lot to fight. But
how do you guarantee that?
We believe families have to be together. But what we really do is we believe in very strong borders, no crime, and the Democrats believe in open borders and plenty of crime, because that's what you get with the open borders. I would like to introduce, however, the president of Portugal, and I'm sorry to bother you, but in our country, the selection of a justice of the United States Supreme Court is considered, I think we can all say, one of the most important events, one of the most important things for our country. I mean, you see the decisions that just came down, how big they are, how vital they are, and they can swing different ways depending on whom there might be in the court. So it's always been considered a tremendously important things. Some people think outside of, obviously, War and Peace is the most important thing that you could have. But another very important thing is introducing the president, the highly respected, I must say, President of Portugal. Go ahead.
Mr. President, when did you learn that Justice Kennedy was retiring?
About a half hour ago.
Were you surprised?
He came to the White House. We had a wonderful discussion just prior to meeting the president, and really had a very deep discussion. I got his ideas on things, including I asked him if he had certain people that he had great respect for that potentially could take his seat, which is a very hard seat to fill. So we talked about different things, and he was here for about a half an hour. I don't think you folks saw him come in and out, did you? I'm shocked. Boy, they've done a great job. That's a shocker. That's a shocker. But yeah, we had he just left a little while ago, just prior to meeting the president.
Will you tell us what he recommended? Will you give us any?
No, I won't do that. But he has, you know, there are certain names that are just outstanding. Names that you already know, to be honest with you. I mean, there are names that you know that are outstanding, highly respected, names that you would know, President. And we'll be looking at them. We'll be looking at some others. But they will come from the list of 25 people.
Let's bring in now the anchor of Fox News Sunday, Chris Wallace. Chris, you've been in Washington for many of these nominations, and it's always so fascinating. And the Supreme Court is still one of the institutions that is trusted and revered in America. This is going to be an amazing summer for all sorts of reasons, especially because of this. Let's get your thoughts on this now.
I was just thinking as I was listening to my colleagues on the air, I think without any question, this is the biggest moment of the Trump presidency. Obviously, he's done a lot of big things. He went to Singapore and met with Kim Jong-un of North Korea. He passed the tax bill. He's done major deregulation. There have been some executive orders. But I think this moment is the biggest opportunity of the Trump presidency so far, because with the retirement of Anthony Kennedy, there was a very strict 4 conservatives and 4 liberals on the court, and Anthony Kennedy was the swing vote who often decided whether the conservatives won, or sometimes, not as often, but sometimes the liberals prevailed, especially on social issues. That if Donald Trump is able to nominate and confirm a solidly conservative justice and swing the court solidly 5-4 conservative, that is going to change the Supreme Court and could perhaps for a generation or two. This is a very big deal. And, you know, I hear talk about, well, you don't want a swing judge. I did a power player this last week on, I have to say, I'm feeling pretty smart about it, about Leonard Leo, who is the key person at the Federalist Society who put together the list first of 11, then of 21, now of 21 people that the president has said he's going to name his Supreme Court justice or his nominee from. They are all reliably conservative. I said to Leonard Leo, is there one of them that is your favorite, or a couple of them that are your favorite? He said, frankly, we're so confident in this list that you could throw a dart at the list, and whoever the dart hit would be a solidly conservative justice on the Supreme Court. The one area where I would disagree with Shannon Bream, she was saying, you know, they're going to want somebody with a long record on abortion and on a lot of these other issues. Excuse me. I don't know that I think that's true, because Neil Gorsuch didn't have a record on a lot of those issues. And they may want somebody who doesn't have a paper trail on those issues, but who are they are convinced from association, from their general record, is a reliable conservative. I don't think it'll be a surprise. I think whoever it is going to be just as conservative as Neil Gorsuch and just as helpful to Donald Trump in terms of giving him a solid conservative majority on the Supreme Court.
Indeed. In fact, John Roberts, our White House correspondent, chief White House correspondent, has sent me the list just so that I have it here. And I remember a lot of these names from the last time around, and I have to tell you, I hadn't been thinking about it until this past week, and thinking, oh, will Kennedy or will he not? Maybe just one last thought from you, Chris, about how every president's legacy can be shaped by a Supreme Court decision. Certainly for George W. Bush with John Roberts and Justice Alito, those were two confirmations that the president could look back on and say, those are accomplishments from my administration. I know that President Obama bitterly disappointed in how he thinks that his nominee, Merrick Garland, was treated and not even given a chance to have a vote. But now President Trump, in a different situation, it's not a presidential election year. It's only a simple midterm. He will end up being able to get somebody confirmed. And how big a deal is that for somebody's legacy when you're a commander-in-chief?
Well, I want to answer that, but before I do, I just want to make clear how vitally important Anthony Kennedy was, Dana, because he was the swing vote. He was the fifth vote on abortion that maintain abortion rights when all the conservatives wanted to either reverse them, repeal them, or at least to limit them sharply. He was the key vote on gay rights, same-sex rights. He was the man, in fact, who wrote those decisions.
Right.
So replacing him with a solid conservative is enormously important. The answer is a Supreme Court nominee can either be a huge legacy builder for a president or it can be very disappointing. George H.W. Bush, very upset. His chief of staff then, John Sununu, told him, appoint David Souter. He's on the New Hampshire Supreme Court. He'll be a reliable conservative. He became a reliable liberal. Dwight Eisenhower appointed Earl Warren to be the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Later said it was the biggest damn mistake I ever made. So it can either be somebody who furthers your legacy and what you want to accomplish in your presidency, or somebody who is just is a huge wrench in the gears and ends up preventing a lot of the things that you wanted to accomplish, which is why, frankly, the presidents have become very good at being able to choose people and know what kind of a justice they'll be. All
right, Chris Wallace, thank you for joining us with that perspective, and we will be sure to watch Fox News Sunday. His power player will be Leonard Leo.
As Justice Kennedy concludes his tenure on the court, we wish him, his wife Mary, and their family every happiness in the years ahead. The Senate stands ready to fulfill its constitutional role by offering advice and consent on President Trump's nominee to fill this vacancy. We will vote to confirm Justice Kennedy's successor this fall. As in the case of Justice Gorsuch, senators will have the opportunity to meet with President Trump's nominee, examine his or her qualifications, and debate the nomination. I have every confidence in Chairman Grassley's conduct of the upcoming confirmation process in the Judiciary Committee. It's imperative that the President's nominee be considered fairly and not subjected to personal attacks. Thus far, President Trump's judicial nominations have reflected a keen understanding of the vital role that judges play in our constitutional order. Judges must interpret the law fairly and apply it even-handedly. Judicial decisions must not flow from judges' personal philosophies or preferences, but from an honest assessment of the words and actual meaning of the law. This bedrock principle has clearly defined the President's excellent choices to date. So we'll look forward to yet another outstanding selection, but today the Senate and the nation thank Justice Kennedy for his years of service on the bench and for his many contributions to jurisprudence and to our nation.
I have Judge Andrew Napolitano. We were going to talk about three different things.
We were, and I sent you all those notes.
I know, and they were very good notes. They will go to good use. But let's talk about this. How big a deal is this? Because this has been a 5-4 court for conservatives that actually end up winning. It could end up being more like 6-3.
Justice Kennedy has been the swing vote on many issues, and as Shannon pointed out a few minutes ago when this news first broke, he sometimes sides with the liberals and sometimes sides with the Democrats, and sometimes sides with the conservatives. But I suggest to you that the key issue will be abortion. Even though Justice Kennedy is Roman Catholic and was appointed by Ronald Reagan, he has consistently sided with the liberals on abortion. If President Trump nominates a pro-life nominee, you will see a titanic battle in the Senate and throughout the country, because that will create a pro-life majority on the Supreme Court for the first time since Roe versus Wade.
And do you think that that would be hard to get confirmed?
I don't know. I mean, Chad would have a better feel than
yeah,
I.
Well, maybe we can ask them that again.
On what will happen in the Senate, but I know that the battle will be titanic. Look, it may be on other issues as well. It may be on youth. It may be on the role of government in our lives. Does he want someone just like Justice Gorsuch? Does he want somebody who's not on the bench? Does he want somebody so the person doesn't have a track record for the Democrats to pick
Well, let me ask you this, though, because the Federalist Society has been very helpful to President Trump looking at all of these judges. Who might the Federalist Society think would be a good, or the type of person, maybe not a name, but the type of person?
President Trump has issued a list from which Justice Gorsuch came. He issued a second list after Justice Gorsuch was confirmed. He added 3 names to the second list. These are people who have a track record of keeping the government within the confines of the Constitution and enforcing personal liberties that are guaranteed by the Bill of Rights as they believe the framers intended them to be enforced. Let me tell you an interesting little tidbit from a private conversation that I can reveal because the person is dead.
Okay.
Justice Scalia.
May he rest in peace.
Yes, rest in peace. Before he passed away, obviously, told me that Justice Kennedy told him that as soon as there was a Republican president and a Republican majority in the Senate, he was ready to retire.
And isn't that interesting? Because a lot of people have thought of him as a little too squishy for the conservatives' taste, but that he wanted to do this when a Republican could be assured of being able to get a pick in?
I think he's a lot closer to John Roberts and Sam Alito than he is to Stephen Breyer and Elena Kagan. I'm just giving you examples from both camps. And even though he rejected the conservatives' views on abortion, I think he was more with them than not with them. But when Sandra Day O'Connor retired, she had been the swing vote between 4 liberals and 4 conservatives. Anthony Kennedy took that. Donald Trump is not going to be looking for a swing vote.
Nope.
He is going to be looking for a reliable traditionalist with libertarian leanings, just like he got in Neil Gorsuch. And he will probably go to that list, and it will either be amplified or reduced by his colleagues and friends at the Federalist Society, and then he'll pick one of those people, and we're in for the battle royal of the summer.
You're going to stick with me, right?
Of course I am.
And Chad Pergram, who we were talking to about the immigration bill, that just failed just a few minutes ago. But this news is going to supersede that because, Chad, at this point, from my experience, now all eyes are going to focus on this nomination. The Democrats will be riled up, but there might not be anything they can do to stop the Republicans from getting their pick seated on the court. Your thoughts?
2 people are in the driver's seat: Mitch McConnell, the Senate Majority Leader, and the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, Chuck Grassley. Keep in mind what Mitch McConnell did a year ago, April, just to get Neil Gorsuch confirmed. He executed what's called here on Capitol Hill as the nuclear option. And this is what you alluded to a moment ago, is that they lowered the threshold for filibusters in the Senate for Supreme Court nominees from 60 votes to a simple majority of 51. This was not a rules change. This was a bit of parliamentary chicanery that basically changed the precedent. The Senate does a lot of its business on precedent. And what they did with the confirmation of Neil Gorsuch is they altered the precedent. This door was opened by Harry Reid, the former Democratic leader in the Senate, in the fall of 2013, and what we sometimes refer to here on Capitol Hill as nuclear option 1. He changed the precedent, the threshold, for all types of judicial nominees, all administration nominees from 60 to 51. Well, that kind of opened Pandora's box, because once Mitch McConnell realized that there was no way to confirm Neil Gorsuch, he made sure the Democrats got a taste of their own medicine with nuclear option 2. And we could have nuclear option 3 now. Keep in mind that the Senate is scheduled to be in session all August long. And if the president is able to submit a nominee pretty soon, we could have confirmation votes, hearings sometime in August before they could start the next term in October.
All right. I want to ask one question. So the change that McConnell made for the Gorsuch, is that now the precedent? They only need to get 51. Okay, so
right. They've changed the precedent for all Supreme Court nominees. Now they still have 60 votes for legislation.
Well,
that's
and
another issue.
And Democrats who are going to be very frustrated today. I mean, they have to look back and I think blame Senator Harry Reid for starting them down that path. I mean, he was the one who broke the initial precedent, and now you have this situation. So they are going to be disappointed, and it will be a big fight.